When we're still evaluating the trustability and reliability of AI systems in general, I think it's kind of crazy to think about using AI workflows in cybersecurity practices. I mean, in a day-to-day sense, when we're using AI and we are getting outputs that make us go, huh, and raise an eyebrow, it seems pretty crazy to want to integrate these systems into our cybersecurity workflows when we're doing important things like remediating threats. And so I was wondering how we can adopt AI in cybersecurity responsibly. So I am excited to sit down to interview Anthony Green. He is a past president of the Vancouver ISACA Chapter and is a member of the AI Ethics Advisory Panel for the Digital Governance Council. In our chat today, Anthony and I discuss the reliability of using AI in our cybersecurity workflows and how we can evaluate the trustability of these AI systems while we're integrating them or before we're integrating them into our workflows and making sure that we keep our data safe. So, without further ado, here's our discussion with Anthony Green. So, can you explain a little bit more about the tools available and how the AI industry is growing within cybersecurity?
Sure, no, absolutely. So, fun fact, AI has been used in cybersecurity for if not more than a decade now. So, but it's not the sexy AI, which is Gen AI that we all hear about. So, machine learning. So, as you might know, you may have heard of a company called CrowdStrike, right? You may have heard of a company called uh, BlackBerry, who actually bought a company called Cylance. Cylance was actually one of the first companies to use machine learning in their antivirus capabilities, basically bringing in EDR, endpoint detection response. And CrowdStrike is one of the biggest companies out there that is currently using machine learning. So which is a form of AI. So we've actually been using it for a long time in different scenarios. Many of the leading firewalls, the Palo Altos, the FortiGates, they'll be using machine learning and heuristic detection within their IPSs as well.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I have so many questions already about how people are using it and how they can use it safely. So, when people are integrating these tools and, starting, or if they have existing tools that are now releasing Gen AI features, what are the risk implications of allowing those into your network? And, there's obviously the internal things that you can control, like the identity access management to who has control of what documents and what proprietary info and these kinds of things. But what are the risks associated when you are using these third-party AI tools and you don't know what kind of models they're being trained on and what are people supposed to do about that?
Great question. So this is a funny one because a lot of people look at AI like it's a completely new technology, but put it under the lens of just another cloud software, right? This AI a lot of times is an API or whatever, your own model, you're going into a database, you're doing something, you're processing, and then you're spitting out an output, right? If you think of it like any other cloud system, if you're integrating a third-party cloud system into your environment, you're probably going to make sure that that is a secure environment. You're going to send them questions. You're going to be like, hey, do you have encryption? Hey, do you have admin access? Do you have a principle of least privilege? Are your admins, periodically reviewed? Do you do vulnerability scans? Whatever. You have a whole host of questions that you're going to ask them before you allow that integration into your internal environment, right? Why is AI any different? Right? A lot of people are thinking like this is some kind of new tech. It is a new technology that can do a lot, but it's just like a database, right? You put in data, now someone else has that data, and you need to make sure that they keep that data safe. Now, the nice thing is that the AI outputs you really useful information based on that data, but they still have that data, right? So what I'm trying to say, the key is don't look at it like this brand new system. Go back to the basics, look at it like a cloud system, and look at it like, hey, if I was implementing Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, what are the security considerations that I would have? And start with that, right? That's a great place to start. For example, where is that data stored? Where is it processed? If I'm going to use an AI, is that data staying here in Canada or is it going out somewhere else? Right. Another question is, are you training on all of my data? So any data that I give you, are you training on that data? It's the same
Yeah.
questions that we've been asking when it comes to privacy and stuff like that for years. We just have to remind ourselves it's the same thing all over again.
Yeah.
Well, slightly
Okay.
different.
Yes. Okay. So third-party risk management for other softwares, third-party softwares. But what about evaluating the level of integrity and trust that you can have within an AI system in cybersecurity? Because I think as AI grows, obviously trust wanes, and people are, I mean, as technologists, the people who are actually implementing this software, we should have a higher understanding of AI. But then again, there is still Google AI telling us to put glue in our pizza. So
Yep.
where do we stand on trusting these systems?
Yeah, so that is a great question because that, like I said, we start with the basic questions, right?
Hmm.
But when it comes to AI, it's not just like cybersecurity because an AI has that thought, right? So cybersecurity is data encrypted in transit. Yes, yes, great, check marks, right? With
Yeah.
AI, it's a little bit different because with AI, the questions you have to ask, yes, you can ask those questions because AI is still data on the internet, but there's a lot more ethical questions and bias questions you need to be asking, right? So, for example, I can give you two examples where organizations didn't ask the right bias questions, right? So, one, there was an AI where this, and you can Google this, this Asian lady took a picture of herself, put it in, and said, make me look more professional, and it turned her white, right? Another one was an Amazon AI where they tried to create an AI to basically speed up candidate procurement. And what the AI came up with is don't put women into management because previously there weren't as many women as management. And because of maternity leave, there's no reason why they should get those jobs, right? That's what the AI said. And so these are things that are kind of unintended consequences or misalignment is what it's actually considered in the industry. And so if you're going to be implementing AI, you want to know that the organization that you're working with cares about these things as well. And so I think trust is very important. Actually, that's why I've been working with the Digital Governance Council to come up with our own questionnaire. Right now, it comes with 40 questions, and it's obviously ever evolving, but it's based on the EU AI Privacy Act, the OWASP Top 10 AI LLM, Gen AI LLM, and the World Health Organization guidelines on AI ethics for health data. So we took all those documents. I took a couple of global experts, and we tried to summarize it down to 40 questions and questions that aren't necessarily, they're not like security questions where it's a check mark. It's understanding questions. Have you done any bias research? Or do you have any automated decision making, right? Because AI is also about the risk. A chatbot answering questions about your documentation has a lot less risk than, let's say, you are a university that wants to use an AI to do application management. Well, saying yes or no to a student is life changing. And if you're going to let an automation do that decision making, there's more stricter things as an organization that I'd want to ensure that that company follows.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point because as the decision that you're basing AI around becomes more and more important, and in terms of cybersecurity, like if it is remediating a problem,
Mhm.
and it's going to auto remediate based on a set of AI assumptions, then that gets super complicated. And how can we, yeah, then trust these AI systems to be able to execute flawlessly and to do what we wanted them to do? Is there a way where you can evaluate a third-party software in terms of its trustability in that it's going to get you the desired outcome that you're looking for?
So I don't think that that is a easy answer because
Yeah.
it's going to depend on your own organizations and your own risk profiles. So for every organization, it's going to be different. The idea behind answering the questions is to have enough information to be able to make a strong decision, right? So if I know that my data is staying in my country, right? And BC specifically, that, because of FOIPA for public bodies, that makes it a lot easier, right? If, the fact that there's an Azure GPT in Canada, that's there because the Canadian governments and provincial governments are saying, listen, you want us to use you, bring it over here. That's our legislation, right? But stuff like that, that helps decrease the risk, which makes organizations more comfortable. Then, for example, not training on on organizational's data, right? So if I'm putting in asking questions, it's not going to come back later uh, in the future model knowing these questions because like I'll give you an example. First, back when ChatGPT just came out, there was a case of IBM employees using ChatGPT to check their code. Well, ChatGPT stored everything and used all that to train. So the next iteration, you could actually ask, what is this IBM code? And it would spit you out that code. Now, Italy actually said, we are going to ban ChatGPT if you don't allow our users the right to opt out. So now if you go to the settings, there's a button that says it won't store in your chat or train on your chat history. That's because of Italy.
Yeah. But then what about these, I don't know, smaller companies like not OpenAI? I'm not going to name anything specifically, but a smaller cybersecurity SaaS company, let's say, who is introducing a new AI model. I mean, D3 is already doing this. So
Mhm.
how can third-party companies or companies who are using our software or any other software that's introducing an AI evaluate um, what kind of models they're training their data on?
Yeah, well, so
You can't, right? Because this is their information, their proprietary information, and then there's also no governing council to put down a heavy hammer to say you must follow these rules, right?
yeah, and it's not necessarily about moderating. Like for example, if I want to work with D3, it's not about me going to D3 and saying, I need to see how you're training your model. It's more about me asking, hey, do you have a process for reducing biases?
Mm,
Right? It's not so like for example, when I go to D3 and I say, "Hey, do you guys do vulnerability management?" I don't go and say, "Hey, give me all your vulnerabilities and show me that you remediated them." I say,
mm.
"Hey, do you have a vulnerability management process in place?" Right?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
yeah,
I mean, I
right?
guess that goes back to the same thing that you're talking about, evaluating third-party software and just to the standard of what we're doing, AI or not. I guess we're not really asking people for their source code of their software anyways. So, that makes a lot
Exactly.
of sense. Yeah.
We ask them, do you do secure software development,
Yeah.
right? And part of that trust relationship is the trust that that you trust them enough that they're not lying to you.
Yeah.
Now, that's where contracts come in, and in the contract you can say that, you are not everything these questionnaires that you're answering, they are to the best of your knowledge correct, and that's how you cover your butt from a business perspective. But
Yeah.
really, it's not about, going and looking into the AI. It's about um, telling people that, hey, you need to ask these questions from the beginning. That's a whole different story, but now I'm tangenting. So sorry, back to your question.
Yeah, I mean, really, my question was the same question over and over again, phrased in different ways, which I realize is because I find AI to be, I guess, more scary, and the unknowns are feel much more unknown, even though they're not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, I actually think you're right because with security, the worst thing that can happen is you get hacked, right? Your information gets
Yeah,
stolen. Sure, critical infrastructure, bad things can happen.
right. That brings up another point that I had in mind, which is what happens then when the same AI gets into the hands of the wrong user who is using the AI to find zero-day exploits to exploit them themselves?
That's the age-old question with bug bounties and hackers and white hat and black
Yeah.
hat, right? And these tools. So, I mean, the way that I look at it, and I think a lot of the industry has looked at it, is these people that have the capability to do this will do this either way,
Hmm.
right? They will get some kind of access. These criminal groups are much bigger than any of us can imagine, right? However, what we're more scared about is making the level of hacking easier to everyone else, right?
Yeah.
That's already happened with, if you look at what a script kiddie is, there's tons of examples of 16 and 15-year-olds following a YouTube video and accidentally hacking a company. So I think that the way it needs to be is if there's the technologies available, it's up to the company to implement that technology early, right? But over time, companies are going to open it up to SMBs and SMBs will be able to access it a lot.
Will be really interesting to see how that plays out and the adoption of everything. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I could see, like this, I think the seam source space is the best place to be to leverage AI because of all the data that you have.
Hmm.
And it's not even just about the data. It's not even about alerting because of SOAR, you can also do remediations, right? So,
Hmm.
if you think about it, you know, a seam SOAR company would be in a perfect position to build their AI SOC copilot in the next 5 years that can kind of make it available for everyone to have their own SOC SOAR, right?
Yeah. And when it comes to these companies using AI systems, um, who is in charge of putting together the governments to evaluate everything to make sure everything's running in terms of AI?
Yeah, so different organizations are different, but from what I've seen personally, it's mostly been the security people. So why security people, compliance people, auditors, the people that already have to worry with. So some organizations have a separate privacy team for data privacy. Some of them put security and privacy together, right? Some of them have a special team just for data. It doesn't matter. The whole point is if you look at AI from a, base level, it's about your data going and being stored somewhere else or being processed somewhere else. And at the core of it, data is, securing the data security is a security problem. Now, because security has, used other softwares, cloud services, there's a lot of like I was saying, there's a lot of overlap with cloud systems and cloud storage systems. Sorry, a lot of overlap with cloud storage systems. And so what I've seen is security has kind of just been naturally the people in the organizations that know the most about how to actually, what questions to ask, security and privacy. So I'll put both of those together because
Right.
in BC, a lot of them are very separate. But when I go out into the US, I see a lot of them are very much more meld together. But yeah.
I would like to ask what you think is the optimal way to handle AI ethics within a company.
Oh man. Now, okay. So I'm gonna start with saying that it's still early in the AI days, and my opinion will most likely change significantly over time.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna parallel it to application security.
Okay.
I think all developers should understand application security, and the security team should be there auditing it. With I think anybody that uses AI should understand it. Anybody that's developing it should understand the risks and ethics. And AI should have a data privacy team auditing it, but a security team ensuring that those guardrails are available. So, for example, AI in DLP. So, security teams should understand what the AI is doing and put DLP guardrails to help prevent, huge problems. So I think it's a three piece. So one is
Mm.
the entire organization and the people using AI need to understand the risks. So from the beginning, and how to use it properly. Privacy needs to be the one that's auditing it, so ensuring that it's holding the data in the proper way. And security should be the one that puts the guardrails on top. So,
Mm.
if you're doing AI, you maybe like if you're writing stuff, you make sure that you can't remove data from your environment, or if it's your internal AI, you can't download anything from there, or something like that, right? I believe it was like KPMG or PwC that made an internal AI. Facebook has one called Metamate. It's very
Hmm.
cute. And then last thing, one more thing I'll say is we're seeing a lot of this also in especially about the security teams. We're seeing a lot of this in Microsoft specifically. A lot of teams are working on Purview right now before they implement AI. So Purview is Microsoft's like information protection, data leak prevention, data discovery tool. And so organizations are now optimizing their purview to ensure they know where their data is before they allow staff access to Copilot. Because imagine right now you accidentally have access to everybody's salaries, but you'll never know because it's 100 folders deep. Only, the We Are One finance person knows. However, if you have an AI, you can simply ask what's everyone's salaries, and if you have access to that information, it'll just pull it up for you.
Yeah, for sure. Identity access management is so important then. I want to
Exactly.
ask you about the guardrails that security teams are putting in place. I think that this probably touches upon some of the other things that we've talked about, but then are these guardrails being changed or being created specifically for AI, or are these guardrails related then to the actual systems itself, like the DLP systems, whatever, because they are, essentially cybersecurity fundamentals we're still talking about.
Both. So
Okay.
you've got the cybersecurity fundamentals. That's the easy part. And what I mean, it's not easy, but what I mean by easy is that it's been around for a while and there's resources and people know how to do that. The AI part is a bit more, that's the neck. That's like once you have that DLP, you can mature into your AI because what happens is whether it comes out of the AI or not, it's still data. And
Hmm.
that data you can protect with your DLP. Now, when you go specifically into the AI, and if you want to prevent it from even, being generated, there's now specific cybersecurity AI products. I think there's the number one company that I've seen so far has been Protect AI, right? The companies like that create products around securing using AI and DLP and data. There's also companies like Private AI that what they do is they try to anonymize or remove all PII right from the get-go, right before you even receive it. That way you don't even have that data in the first place. So there's different ways to go about it, but
Hmm.
the DLP is like the fundamentals that you should have. Then you can go look into the protect AIs and the private AIs, depending on whether you need to develop something or you need something you can just install.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Anthony, for coming on the show. If we want to find you and what you're working on, where can we look?
Sure, you can find me on LinkedIn. There's quite a few things I'm working on, but right now, mostly I'm working on boosting our BC cybersecurity ecosystem.
All right, great. I will put the link in the show note for Anthony's LinkedIn, and thanks so much.
Right? Thanks a lot.